I'm just back from reading that controversial article in Time magazine. You know, the one with the woman breastfeeding the older child, the one that's gotten so much buzz recently, the one that's caused so much discussion in social media and on the news, and just all this controversy surrounding this particular article. I really felt strongly that I needed to read this article before I could really discuss it and give it an opinion or to really understand what it was about. I have to admit, when I went into reading it, I was really kind of angry about the controversy surrounding it, but I did take away some specific things from this article. First, let's talk about that cover. That cover really brought out a controversial idea, a controversial thing about when and where and how old you should breastfeed. But when you read the article, it had very little to do with the actual woman on the cover and her situation. It talked about breastfeeding and it talked about extended breastfeeding, but it talked about it under the idea of attachment parenting. The cover was for controversy. It was for buzz. It was for sales. The article inside did not focus on that cover. It focused on a larger idea of attachment parenting. The next thing I noticed was that the article talked about these flashpoints, these divisions in the parenting community. Those are things I never experienced as a parent. I don't see that now when I talk to parents and I join parenting communities. Sure, there are people with extreme opinions on either side, but between those two extremes, there's a lot of people who really have a lot of understanding for each other. I never once experienced someone coming up to me and saying, "Stop, you're parenting horribly." I both breast and bottle fed my children to different degrees and different lengths depending on what they needed and what was working. I have one that didn't breastfeed at all. But I never had an experience where a breastfeeding mom came up to me as I was bottle feeding my child and saying, "Get that bottle out of their mouth and nurse the baby." Nor did I ever have a bottle feeding mom come up to me when I was breastfeeding a child and say, "Stop nursing and give them a bottle." That just didn't happen. Sure, there are extreme arguments and extreme opinions on either side, but they don't seem to become these incendiary things like this article says until they become a popular press idea, something that can be attached to and create controversy. Controversy creates argument. Argument creates division. Division creates sides, and when we're on sides, we're not open to hearing each other. Wouldn't it be better to talk about it in discussion and have dialogue? I don't know. What do you think about that? The next thing that I noticed was the ideas of attachment parenting came from some people who saw what they wished or thought that they should have as they were growing up. It came from their personal experiences. Some of it came from observations, and I'm sure some of it came from medical knowledge and being around children and from medical experience. But the biggest piece in this article talked about the experiences of these particular people who were really the proponents. One was even called the guru of attachment parenting. Don't we all parent that way? Don't we all parent from our past experiences? Don't we keep the things that were good for us in childhood and forget those that weren't? Don't we add to what we think we may have needed when we were kids? Don't we bring that into our parenting? Attachment parenting may be fantastic for some, but it certainly isn't the one and only way for all. And that was the final thing I saw from this article, was that the idea of attachment parenting, the proponents of and the authors of this idea, the main people behind this idea, talked about that it's not an all or nothing kind of parenting. You take what works for you and you don't take what doesn't work for you. It talked about the benefits of extended breastfeeding and family sleeping and those ideas of keeping the baby with you 24/7. But it also talked about the leeway that could be in that parenting style. So overall, this was an eye-opening experience. I'm glad I read the article. It confirmed some things that I thought might be contained in there based on the cover, and it opened my eyes to what the article really was. If you want to know more about what I thought about this article, go ahead and head over to the front page of the blog. There'll be a written post about this. In the meantime, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you think. If you read the article, I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Until then, I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say.